Hey guys, so Corvus Kit has been announced and this is the preliminary analysis because we don't have the exact numbers. So how good she is and if her role is actually a DPS, a sub DPS, we only can decide after we know the numbers, right? But here I'm going to assume that she's a DPS. So as a DPS, there's two things that you all need to pay attention when reading her kit. The first is Breaking Point, which is a debuff or a special debuff that is inflicted on the enemy. And there's also Arc Light. Okay, so Breaking Point, it consumes a certain stacks and it will allow Force Stitch, which is one of her follow-up attack, to do more damage by scaling Force Stitch based on Arc Light stacks. So Arc Light is a buff that is on Corvus herself and it's also a stack based buff. And when you use Force Stitches and when Breaking Point is consumed, then Force Stitch will do more damage based on the stacks of Arc Light. So the whole idea about gameplay is to stack up Arc Light, get the pulsing field to level 3 and then spam ultimate. At least this is what I think. But why did I think so? Let us look into her kit and her ultimate. And we start with her skill 2. Skill 2, Rose Colored Crack, is self-channel and it forces the enemy target to enter a status as well. I'm not sure if it's a channeling status or whatever, but the enemy will have this status, high temp wielding on them, and only one enemy, okay? If you have 3 targets, 3 enemy, it will just be on 1 enemy because she is mainly a single target DPS. And then herself will enter Stitching, okay? So what is Stitching? Stitching at the end of turn will trigger different Force Stitching. So I'm not sure how many Force Stitching that she can trigger, like how many different are there. None of her kit actually mentioned there is more than one, so I'm not sure. And it depends on the level of Pulsing Field. Maybe at Pulsing Field level 1, it will just trigger 1 type of Force Stitching, and if it's level 3, then it will trigger 3 type of Force Stitching. That I don't have any information about. But basically, using this S2, one of the main purpose, like I tell you, is to gain Arc Light. So when the enemy have high temp wielding status on them, and if you attack them, I believe it's not just Corvus. I think if anyone attack them, then Corvus will gain Arc Light. On top of that, high temp wielding will also decrease the mental defense of the enemy. If the damage source is mental, then further decrease the mental defense, and Corvus will gain extra Arc Light. So it seems like they want to focus and get us to build a mental-based Dynamo team. And if you actually look into Lucy is Reality, Auric is also Reality, but Sharon is mental, Ezra is also mental. I'm not sure that slowly they will release even more Dynamo units and we will be able to form one reality-based Dynamo team and the other is fully on mental. I'm not sure, but seems like if Corvus will be a main DPS, she definitely won a sub DPS that is Dynamo and has mental damage. And that is not Auric. Alright? Okay? So yeah. So basically that's the purpose of S2. For S1 is a simple skill, single mental damage, self-gain Arc Light. When hit, inflict Breaking Point on the target. So Breaking Point, as I mentioned, is consumed when we attack the enemy with Force Stitching. Yeah, so we still would want to use this skill every round, I believe, because if Corvus a DPS, again, you want to get all the Moxie for her so she can spam her ultimate. So you still need to use this skill, and mainly this is just to get more stacks of Arc Light as well as Breaking Point. So once we got a lot of stacks of Arc Light and enemy has a lot of Breaking Point, and I assume at this point we would have gotten her ultimate, then we use it, of course. So her ultimate is single mental damage, inflict Breaking Point on target and trigger Force Stitching. So Force Stitching, single mental damage, funnel Dynamo into Pulsing Field. This attack is affected by Ultimate Might, so it should be an incantation, follow-up attack incantation that is also affected by Ultimate Might, just like all the Dynamo units attack. Okay, and one thing to pay attention to, there is a mention that when you use the Force Teaching, and based on the level of pulsing field, and consume the target's breaking point, then Corvus will gain more arc light or increase mental damage dealt per arc light, and I assume this is at level 2, and at level 3 further increase mental damage dealt per arc light or trembling arc. Now what is trembling arc? Okay, I will talk about that later. And this attack is further affected by Ultimate Might, so further affected. So again, like Lucy is 100% affected by Ultimate Might. Maybe if it's not level 3, it is like 50% or 80%, and then by the time you hit level 3, then it's 100% affected by Ultimate Might, or it can even go beyond. So it seems that her damage is the most during Pulsing Field level 3, obviously, and using her ultimate. So the question here is that, can she use her ultimate more than once? I do think she can, because now if we refer to Corvus Insight, it states when entering battle, gain Amplified Surge. And the rest is just about Dynamo. So what is Amplified Surge? This is the same one as Auric, but it's slightly even better because it says that when entering Pulsing Field level 3, increase Self-Moxie. This is the same as Auric, but I do not know is 1, 2, or 3. Auric gain 3. So maybe she should gain 3 as well. But on top of that, it increases her max Moxie, so which means you can overflow. Like you need 5 to cast ultimate, now you can maybe stack up all the way to 10. So we have to see exactly how much you can stack. But basically, this can help her to gain more Moxie and even regain her out quickly, consecutively, during the 2 rounds when the Pulsing Field is at level 3. On top of that, she also become immune to control effect, which is not bad at all. Okay, then here if we look into Insight 1, when exiting Pulsing Field 3, so when it reset back to level 1, Arc Light, all the Arc Light will turn into Dynamo and Trembling Arc. But if you notice in the ultimate, just now I mentioned about Trembling Arc, so if it's going to convert all Arc Light to Trembling Arc, and then I collect more Arc Light, I gain level 3 field and I exit again, will Trembling Arc keep stacking? If it does, then her ultimate is going to be stronger and stronger and stronger. But if it doesn't, and if it's for a certain set of rounds, let's say 3 rounds, which is usually the cycle for the Dynamo, the Pulsing Field. The cycle for the Pulsing Field is usually 4 rounds, It's usually 4 rounds, assuming that you need 2 rounds to charge the field. So in that case, if Trembling Arc can last for 4 rounds, then at least you can keep a certain rotation. So it increase, in a way, it's like increasing a fixed damage for her ultimate. And her Insight 3 is basically when an enemy with high TAM welding dies, they just transfer it to another enemy. And if there's breaking point on them as well, it got transferred to that enemy too. So this is because she is mainly single target, right? So just to make her a little bit more viable for multi-target, then she has this function. But I don't think that she will be better than Lucy in AoE content, right? So, yep, unfortunately, she is going to replace Lucy in a sense for single target, but for AoE, I believe Lucy will still be the best unit for Dynamo team. But I have something else to say. Okay, let us look into her rotation, then I will talk about her team comp. So for her rotation, I think that first you use S2 to enter channel status, then you use S1 to gain Arc Light, inflicting breaking point as well, and at the end of the round, you will trigger Force Teaching, and that will consume the breaking point. So as if there is no additional breaking point. Then at round 2, again, you use S2 and S1. This time, S2 will also inflict breaking point. So now you have 2 stacks of breaking point on the enemy, but you will consume 1 at the end of the round. At this point, she has 4 Moxie. And I also assume that she will be channeling some Dynamo into the field, and with, let's say, Auric or Charon, you will transfer even more Dynamo into the field. So you should get the field to level 3 at this point. And now with the field at level 3, she gained Moxie. So here I assume 3 being the same as Auric. So now she have 7 Moxies. So here you use her ultimate and then you use the S1 and S2 again. Then you move 1 incantation because this will give you the other 3 Moxie and directly generate her ultimate again in the next round. And then by round 4, you can spam her ultimate again and use S1 and S2, and then you repeat back from round 1. And for her rotation in the full Dynamo team, so I'm going to assume this will be her team, replacing Lucy. So round 1, Corvus use S2, Corvus use S1, and then Auric use S1 and S2, also entering channel status. And in round 2, again, Corvus as the DPS will be using most of the AP, and here Sharon will use S1 and S2. By round 3, Pulsing Field is at level 3. Auric being in front of Sharon, which means Auric's ultimate, Sharon's ultimate, both will be free of use. So you use both of it, then you use Corvus ultimate, Corvus S1, Corvus S2, and you move 1 of Corvus incantation. Finally, in round 4, you use Corvus ultimate, Corvus S1, Corvus S2, then you use Astra S2 for shield. But here I'm really thinking that Astra's sustain is not going to be enough. But we have to see on how it's a rotation, or she actually can use a different sustain. Alright, and lastly, here is another team. Here, read back this statement. High temp welding, decrease mental defense. After being attacked, Corvus gain arc light. If the damage sword is mental, further decrease mental defense and Corvus gain more arc light. So if you have a character that keep attacking the enemy with mental attack like a lot, she will get a lot of she will get a lot of arc light, and the enemy will have very high mental defense down. So I'm here thinking that probably we can have a full mental team where you bring Auric out of it because Auric is reality, not mental, and you can bring Aleph into this team. Aleph is providing AP +1, which is also good, and Aleph will trigger impromptu. And here we put in a sustain like Keep Arena. You should have quite a good stack of impromptu every round, and that will make Corvus do quite a lot of damage. However, we still need to check on how fast the Dynamo Pulsing Field can charge, or else we still have to use Ezra as the sustain. Okay, so yep, this is my take for Corvus kit right now based on the information that we have. And yeah, looking forward to get the full kit and to test her out next week. Alright, so thank you very much for watching this video and have a good day.